Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Giants make a move on the offensive line. They signed Greg Van Roten, who's actually a local product. Actually grew up not too far away at all from where I did. And he's carved out a nice career for himself. And this move makes a lot of sense in many ways. The first thing that comes to mind is Carmen Bricillo, the new Giants offensive line coach, who the last couple of seasons was the offensive line coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. You have Jermaine Eluemunor, who comes in, who right now, and to me, this is what it should be, he's at right tackle, right? Evan Neal is on the PUP list, and regardless of that, I just think that you need to go under the assumption that Evan Neal, healthy or not, like he's just not going to be your starter. And I know that he was the 7th overall pick. Ideally, you want to just squeeze out as much juice as you can from Evan Neal if it's possible, but can't be too confident about that at the moment. And Greg Van Roten last season started, I believe, started all 17 games at right guard, and Eluemunor was right tackle. So you have that continuity and the experience together. Now, John Runyan, who was signed formerly of the Green Bay Packers, he has been practicing and kind of penciled in as the right guard. But Runyan, he has experience recently at left guard. And originally, when Van Roten was a younger player, he played more on the left side. So the point is, it's going to be, I think it makes sense to have Van Roten at right guard and Runyan at left guard. I'm not going to have a huge problem if they reverse it. You have to trust that Daboll and the staff, kind of Bricillo especially, that they kind of know what they're doing. But the point is that the Giants don't have a hell of a lot of depth. I mean, they were starting Aaron Stinney, who's a kind of a journeyman type veteran offensive lineman. He had been getting most of the left guard reps, starting left guard reps. And also John Michael Schmitz the last few days has been out with a shoulder injury. I don't believe it's anything long-term. So assuming that he'll be good to go from left to right, ideally it's Thomas, Runyan, Schmitz, Van Roten, Eluemunor, which may not be terrible. I'm not saying it's going to be a great offensive line, but if they can somehow stay healthy, which is hard to do, I think that could be a serviceable offensive line. Now, I say that right now, and then come the start of the season, it could be a train wreck. It really could, because even that, in your most optimal setting, is still, would certainly be a bottom third at best offensive line in the league. But they need to stay healthy, especially in front of Daniel Jones, who's coming back from an ACL injury. I think it's paramount that this offensive line is on the field. But again, this makes a lot of sense. I don't know in terms of the particulars as far as the contract. I don't believe that that news has been broken yet. But I'd imagine it's nothing too substantial. But I don't want to guess it because, again, I don't know what it is. But Van Roten, who played at Penn and has really he's been in the league now for over a decade. Came up, with the Green Bay Packers, played a couple years there. Then was kind of off the grid as far as the NFL is concerned. Went over to Canada for a bit and then kind of resurfaced with the I would say that obviously there was some starts and stops elsewhere, but really with the Carolina Panthers kind of got back on track and, started to make a name for himself a little bit as a full-time starter. And then he signed with the Jets. So that's the other thing too. I think he grew up a Jet fan, not 100% sure on that, but, signed a 3-year deal with the Jets, ends up spending 2 years there. Then he goes to the Buffalo Bills for a year. Now, at that point, Shane and Daboll were gone when he signed with the Bills. And then last season was with the Raiders. And like I said, started at right guard all 17 games. Grades out pretty well, at least as a pass blocker he does. And so it looks like he was kind of just waiting for the right opportunity. And this one, I would say, definitely qualifies in terms of him getting that playing time. And unless something goes terribly wrong, you would think that he will be a starter on this offensive line. That's why, a big reason why I wanted to record this episode was because, again, I do think that there's some significance here. And again, it doesn't hurt the fact that Van Roten, who is from the Baldwin Rockville Center area, so a local product, so that's pretty cool too. But, it almost feels like Van Roten, even though it's not quite the same, but it almost feels like because I think he'll be better, but it's almost like when Justin Pugh came back, a real veteran presence. And, again, like it was unideal situations. I don't know if Justin Pugh has officially called it quits yet. I don't believe he has, but he certainly hasn't signed on anywhere. But Van Roten is definitely someone that's needed. And quite honestly, it's still a pretty young offensive line. Obviously, you've brought in some guys that have been in the league a little bit in Eluemunor and Runyon, but Van Roten even more so. He's been around for a while, and I do like the fit and excited to see what he can bring to the table. So, look, in an offense that I think is not going to be one of the better ones in the league, obviously excited about Malik Neighbors coming in. I think there is some depth to that wide receiver room. But in turn, again, with Jones, to me, there's a lot of uncertainty. The running game may not be the best, obviously, as much as I agree with Saquon Barkley not being back. You bring in Devin Singletary, and it's kind of a ragtag crew as far as the running backs are concerned. So they really need this offensive line to just, again, be healthy, provide stability and continuity, and that will help them find ways to win games. So really, to me right now, and even with the Van Roten signing, this offensive line still has there's a lot of work to be done, but it's that cornerback, it's the cornerback room that really, that's one place where I think cornerback 2, they really, really need to make a move there. And your guess is as good as mine if that happens, but that's because everywhere else, like, again, I think this Giant team lacks depth, and that will hurt them when the injuries come. I don't think this is a team that you look at that depth chart, it's not great across the board. But if you look at the starters, at each spot, it's requisite and it's good enough to compete, except cornerback. And I know like there's some intriguing guys like Nick McLeod, I think, is going to be someone that you'll hear from, and he'll be in the mix. And even the 3rd-round rookie Drew Phillips, I think, is someone that will be in the conversation at slot corner. But yeah, that cornerback too. Right now, it could be Cordell Flott. It's not great. And all is to say, like Deonte Banks, like you want him to be the cornerback 1, but hey, he's coming off a rookie year where he was solid, if unspectacular. So I just think that is a definite weakness that I hope that Joe Schoen will address within the next few weeks. So again, not going to jump the gun there just because there is some time. I mean, the first preseason game is still at least a week away. And even then, moves still happen even beyond that. So we'll see. But Van Roten, who visited the Giants, I guess it was probably about a week ago. Everyone was kind of wondering what would happen with that. And now it has come out that per sources, they have agreed to terms on a contract. And Greg Van Roten will very likely be a pretty big part of this 2024 offensive line, whether that be at left guard or right guard. And again, I think right guard makes a lot of sense with Eluemunor really looking like he'll be the right tackle, and then having been teammates on that right side with the Raiders with Bricillo as the offensive line coach. And as far as Evan Neal goes, yeah, it's just been a complete disaster and really a total bust pick and a bad look, even though it was an obvious pick at the time, right? Like, you still got to get it right. And for Joe Schoen, that is a mark against him. There's just no way around it. And I just don't think that Evan Neal, I'd be very surprised if he's able to kind of turn this around. For him to still be on the PUP list and just not really looking like there's any end in sight, not great. But Giants are still going to do the best they can. I think them going on without him for the time being is what will be best for them. And so we'll see what happens. But again, Giants making some news. Greg Van Roten is a New York Giant.